And we are live. Welcome to the Easy Path Project live stream. I'm Michael, and tonight we are going to be talking about, can a strong inner game shape your reality? I've made a couple comments over the last week or so that if you do these things are going to get better for you. It's like I'm not like hedging my bets. I'm like, they should get better, or they might get better, or they could get better. Now, the idea is that if you do these things, your life will get better. And I've started a little series here. So now we're 3 series deep on part ones, and still haven't gotten to part two because I keep trying to narrow this down to something very simple and easy to understand. So tonight, what I'm going to be talking to you about is some of the things that you can expect once you've started to develop your strong inner game. So, without further ado, like I said, so we're going to be talking about. I think I've narrowed it down to about 9 different little ideas that encompass what inner game is. And so I'm going to go through each of those and just give you some examples, like 10 examples or whatever. So you'll see, like, okay, if you do this, then you're going to get this kind of result. And I've actually even written them down tonight. Last night I um, did the show with very few notes, and it was fun. And I shared a lot of really cool information. But tonight I want to make sure that I get across exactly what I mean, and that you understand exactly what I mean. Because, like I said, you'll start to understand how the exponential growth works. Like when you see that this result leads to this result, and this combination or the synthesis of ideas or um, improvements in the way you think about things or the way that you feel about things will lead you to get even um, other improvements just as a result of your work on these. And so I'm going to show you step by step how that works. And like I said, so one of uh, one of the first things you got to think about is that self-awareness leads to better decision making and personal clarity. We've discussed how lots of people do not like to be introspective or to dig into who they are or why they're like they are. Some of that stuff can be painful. You hear about it all the time, like, in therapy, when people will actually like hang on to things, they'll actually like try to find validation to support something that, if they were honest with themselves, they would think that they would want to get rid of rather than hang on to. But they find excuses, and they find support from other people outside, um, who say that you got to be cool with this or whatever. And that the truth is that once you become self-aware, and once you are able to dig into really who you are, then you'll find, like, if you think about your life, and once again, if you're being honest, there are things that you don't like, and it could be any aspect. Like I said, we're discussing inner game, and so like confidence, for instance. If you know that your confidence is lacking, or that it could be improved, then if you're honest to yourself and say, hey, I've got this situation, I need to deal with it. And once you do that, um, I'll explain this as we go along. Like I mentioned the other night, my introductions take quite a long time. And tonight I'm going to blast through this list so you can look at each little point and say, yes, that is correct. If I do this, then I'm going to find my life getting better. But I mentioned confidence a moment ago. Once you're confident, you're going to attract opportunities, and you're going to enrich your personal experiences. Like, you're going to do things that you might not have otherwise done because you're confident in the outcome, or at least you're confident enough in yourself that you're going to be able to give it a shot and feel comfortable about it. Once you get a couple of experiences under your belt where Either you succeed or you fail, but you find that the failure doesn't hurt, doesn't sting. You don't die. You don't, uh, have to live as a pariah because something failed. You just deal with it and get on down the road. Uh, and then that confidence will grow. And then, like I said, you know, once you have a mindset of confidence, you'll find that you start becoming a more attractive person just naturally, and so that attractiveness that you're displaying will actually attract opportunities, and your life will get better as a result. And finally, the resilience, like a resilience, once you get to the point where you do not allow um, setbacks or concerns, irrational concerns. In a lot of cases, when we're talking about inner game, things that you might be afraid of or that you might not be so confident about or whatever. If I'm being honest, I did have to fail a lot. I remember uh, the first time that I spoke to a girl, like when I was younger, like almost every uh, interaction I had with a female was through a social group, like friends from school or from work or friends of friends or whatever. But one day I was actually at a laundromat and I saw a cute girl there, and I just felt like that I was going to kick myself if I didn't go say hi to her. And I went up and it was something kind of like, you sure are pretty or whatever. I mean, it was just that ridiculous. And at least he was sweet and polite and whatever. But it was just a ridiculous situation looking back on it. But I didn't die. Like, I actually took that and thought, okay, well, I didn't get the girl, but it was my first try, right? I didn't have to worry about it anymore. I just learned from that. I was like, okay, well, rather than leaving off with something goofy or whatever, try to find a better way. And that's actually the things that I'm going to be teaching you uh, in this Easy Path project. It's like there are easier ways or more intelligent ways of going about things like that. Anyway, but it all leads up to strong inner game outcomes. Like I said, I mean, I've got a 100% uh, chance. Um, you are going to have a 100% chance that this will work for you. And it's simply because, like, if you hear these things and you say, well, that's certainly not going to be able to help me. Like somebody would say you're ridiculous. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in a moment. Like it's going to open your mind and open your eyes, and you should be starting to get enthusiastic about doing this because, like I said, this is the easy path project. We're doing it the easy way. There's no real discipline involved unless you want it to be, or motivation, and none of that crap. Just easy little things that you can do and make your life much better. So, um, like I said, this is all new stuff I'm studying and putting together for these live streams, and so I don't have like a framework with all the fancy titles or whatever. So I'm just trying to figure them out as I go along. But the first, oh, in fact, wait, before we get into this, yeah, this is the Easy Path project is at this point live streams. We do live streams each weeknight around 7:30 p.m. Central. Like I mentioned, they seem to be having some audio issues lately, but I've been getting them fixed on time, and it's easy to be ready by 7:30 the last couple of days. So that's been kind of nice. Anyway, but yeah, so they are going to be around 7:30. So definitely stop by and hang out, and maybe chat, say hello, uh, maybe get some conversation started. In the event that you don't get a chance to watch But you don't get to watch the live stream live. You can actually watch the replays. I've made a playlist of all of the live streams, and they're going to be in order by which date they were presented, and so you can just go in and find them. And I'm going to be adding chapters and stuff, so you can actually dig into them and um, get little bite-sized nuggets of gold or whatever without having to sit through the whole live stream. Anyway, so that's coming. Like I said, every day we're getting better and better at this. You get to watch me in real time learning how to do this, and so I get to help you real time improve yourself. So it's kind of fun that we get to do that together. So, like I said, live streams 7:30 p.m. Central. Okay. Belief in self-worth. Once you start believing in your self-worth, like, that you are valuable, regardless of what you might tell yourself, at this time, um, people are hard on themselves and there's no need really. I mean, it's not as productive as you might think. Sometimes you can bully yourself into doing things, but other times, it's better if you just kind of ease into what we're doing or what you want to do. And so that's what we're doing here. So the first thing we're going to talk about is like eradicating the issues that you have that might keep you from believing in yourself. So we're just going to say, okay, yes, for the sake of this slideshow tonight, you have a really good belief in your self worth, and these are the things that you're going to uh, the benefits that you're going to enjoy by a belief in self worth. The first is greater confidence. You'll approach challenges and opportunities with a stronger sense of your ability to succeed. What more do I have to say? It's like once you become more confident, you'll be more confident as you go through your day. Healthier relationships. You'll be less likely to settle for less than you deserve and more likely to form equitable connections. So, one of the things I touched on fairly recently was about settling. That's one of the things that, if you do dig into the MGTOW community or even some of the communities where guys just tend to have issues with women just in general, they talk about, you know, oh, women have these, outrageous expectations, and why can't they just settle? And that's kind of silly if you listen to what you're saying. It's like, why should they settle for you? It's like, why don't you make yourself like a good person and then she doesn't have to settle at all? I mean, and you are a good person. I mean, I don't want you to think ever, that you're not. Like the whole understanding behind this or whatever is that when you're born you're perfect, and then everything that you learn along the way, some of it's good, some of it's bad, some of it's just outdated, and so you really have to evaluate where you stand and hang on to those things. And so what I mean by becoming a good person is like, okay, well, you're already good, but maybe you've got some self-confidence issues going, or maybe you've got some grooming issues or whatever. like and these things, you're going to want to work on them. And so if you have those things, then that's when a woman's going to have to settle for you. But if you just do the simple things to improve yourself up to the level where you should naturally be, then you'll find that that you won't have to settle and she won't have to settle, and you find that that you've attracted the kind of person that you want. um, I know I touched on it last night or the night before last, but and there's a lot to be said about setting an intention. Like, part of your authentic self is, is what kind of woman you want, and what kind of relationship you want to have, and what kind of future you want to have together. Once you establish that, and then go forward through life, basing your activities and the way that you interact with other people with the framework, with the inner foundation, whatever that you set up for yourself. At that point, you find that all of the other stuff that comes along is going to fall by the wayside. You won't feel like you've got to. There's something really quite loud happening. I'm glad that we get to be here to enjoy this. So please. Oh well, one of those nights. It doesn't happen very often. Anyway, but the point is that once you start developing your belief in your self worth, you'll have healthier relationships because you won't have to settle. She won't have to settle, and the relationships or the connections that you make will just be better for you because they'll be grounded in like who you are. Number 3 is increased resilience. Setbacks will be viewed as learning opportunities rather than reflections of your inherent value. One of the things that you hear business people talk about is whatever is like, fire people fast. It's like, it's nothing personal. If a employee is not a good fit, they need to leave because they're not a good fit, and so it's not doing them any good to be there. And because they're not a good fit for you, there's no reason for them to hang around. So everybody benefits if you just like say see ya. Unfortunately, sometimes that stuff kind of stings if you're on the receiving end of that getting pushed out. But you don't have to allow that kind of setback or whatever to like really damage your psyche or anything. You just like, okay, well, it wasn't a good fit, so we just move on. And that same thinking is very common with with relationships and stuff. Sometimes people, for whatever million reasons that they might have to either to maintain a relationship or to move on from it, they might end a relationship with you, or they might choose not to even form a relationship. Or if it's something like that she's married, for instance, and you don't know, like you don't see your hand or ring or whatever, that that she might not even want to talk to you at all. And there also might be a situation where the girl is kind of got a high self-opinion. Hey, we get to enjoy some more loud noise. Good for us. La, la, la. Anyway, the point that I was making is that if you're rejected or if you have some sort of setback, it's not necessarily like a reflection of who you are. I mean, there could be a whole bunch of reasons why. And so, instead of internalizing it and letting it get you down, you just learn from it, uh, and then drop it and just move on. Number 4, willingness to take risks. Fear of failure will diminish as your self-worth isn't tied to outcomes. Um, you're no better or worse a man or whatever, depending on how, like an approach works out. If the girl shoots you down, you're not a loser, and if she thinks you're the best thing ever, you're not necessarily a winner. You're still the same guy. Like, it's just her opinion of you. And so, especially when it comes to things like approaches or to try to establish a relationship or whatever, you got to be willing to take the risks and realize that, if you fail, it's just an opportunity to learn and try again. You don't have to, you don't have to suffer. Number 5, improved self-care. You'll prioritize your well-being because you believe you are worthy of care, and you just take care of yourself. I mean, you know, one of the easiest things, one of the very first things that I did, for instance, with a gentleman that I went out with, was to, he was very lackadaisical in his dress. Like, he would dress like he was, uh, yeah, it just wasn't attractive at all. And just something as simple as becoming presentable, clean clothes. He was actually balding, and so we got him a stylish hat, and so that's a good. It stands out. I mean, if you ever think about, like, you don't want to get a fedora because those are kind of played out, but something that makes you kind of look presentable, makes you look put together, and so that's one of the aspects of it. Like, once you start feeling better about yourself, you'll start caring about how you look and how you present yourself. And that's actually, and it works in reverse. If you've got a situation where, you do look good and you go out, and people will respond to you differently. And, once again, you're the same exact person. It's just, on one hand, you're looking kind of scroungy, and on the other, you're looking kind of nice. But the people, when they see you looking kind of nice, they're going to respond to you differently than if you look scroungy. And you'll find this, like, because you feel good about yourself, you'll want to look good, and when you look good, you'll feel good about yourself. It's self-reinforcing. Okay, so that is the belief in self one part, or excuse me, belief in self-worth part 1. Now we move on to part 2. So number 6 would be stronger boundaries. You'll feel more empowered to say no and protect your time and energy. Um, you often hear the word simp, or people that talk about guys that are pushovers. Well, once you've kind of established who you are and what you'll stand for, what you expect, and you don't have to be like all stern and hardcore about it, but if you make it a point to let somebody know where you stand gently, but firmly, and they'll treat you differently. And so when you find yourself, just like we were talking a moment ago about the getting fired quickly or whatever, like, you'll actually make decisions more rapidly. Like, if you do think that a girl that you might have been talking to, or that you might have been actually going out with or whatever, and she just seems to be like kind of lukewarm, or kind of like, just not what you're looking for, it's an opportunity for you to just to move on. Once again, no hard feelings. We both need to be in other situations, so move on. You don't expend your time and energy on something that isn't going to happen. Okay, so let's see. Uh, I left one out, actually. This is pretty crazy. How did I do that? Oh, there it is. Okay. Reduced people pleasing. Like I mentioned the other day, I listened to Dr. Robert Glover um, on a podcast with Dr. Ryan Taraban, and he wrote a book called "No More Mr. Nice Guy." And I guess I should have known from the title or whatever. But listening to him talk on a podcast, and I thought, wow, he's really making a lot of good points here. But then when I got the book, it was all about like people that think that you have to do things to get people to like you don't expect them to like you just for who you are, or what value you bring to the relationship. But it's almost a situation where like you've got to give more, to do things like you have to earn attention or you have to earn affection. And that's it's pretty ridiculous. And so what you'll find is, once you believe in your self-worth, your actions will be driven more by your own value and who you are rather than seeking validation, external validation, meaning people, you know, saying whatever, giving you these things like because it's not you giving stuff because you are trying to hopefully get something back, but you're giving stuff because you're a giving person and they want to give back to you. That was actually something that, sometimes I learn lessons that are very gentle, and sometimes I learn like lessons that sting. And I learned a lesson once about, being a graceful receiver of things, you know, uh, and sometimes the other person actually will receive value just from giving you something. And once again, not for, with ulterior motives, but they're giving you something because they want to give this to you. And so y- you want to be at that place. You want to be at that point. Be confident with yourself. Give, and then, and sometimes that people don't understand, like, in the way that you present things. That's also a situation where you'll feel more secure, once you believe in your self-worth. If you do something for somebody and they don't respond, or they minimize it somehow, or even they make fun of it, or they, make a joke out of it or whatever, you just laugh and you get on down the road. You don't attach any value to any of that because, you weren't trying to get something back from giving. You were just giving to give. And so, yeah, I mean, what more can I say, right? And giving is fun. Like once you can be generous with yourself, like people that dig you. Um, yeah, it's fun. Like I said, you got so much to look forward to. If you've been back because of these issues, these inner game issues, what you'll find is these inner game outcomes, these strong inner game outcomes will make your life just so much more pleasant. So, greater authenticity. You'll feel more comfortable being yourself without fear of judgment. You have to own yourself, like you don't have to constantly be worried about what other people think, or even if they tell you or whatever, like, if people pick on you or tease you or ignore you or any of the different things, you always hear the term people saying, I want to feel seen or whatever. And when you're your authentic self, um, people will see you. They will know you, and they will feel you, and they will respond better. Okay, enhanced creativity. You'll be less inhibited by self and more open to expressing your unique ideas. You won't be afraid to kind of be vulnerable. That's actually one of the things that I'm thinking that this is going to be um, something that men are dealing with, that we're going to be talking about, is vulnerability. there is a fine line between, being all weepy and sad and whatever, and just, being honest and open. And once you can actually find um, that fine line between the two, you'll feel more comfortable in opening yourself up or being honest about who you are. And if you own that, if you say, I feel this way, and that's the bottom line, like, people will accept it. They might tease you, they might, whatever. I'm just, who cares? I mean, like, you've got your inner game going strong, and so your opinion means nothing. The other person, their opinion means nothing, especially if they're holding you back from uh, being who you want to be. And the point about the enhanced creativity is like, each person brings something unique to interactions, and so I mentioned it the other night. A big deal about interacting with women is that, for the most part, uh, their lives seem to be pretty boring, and so your your mission, kind of, as a man, is uh, to help make her life more interesting, better. And so, if you're coming up with the same boring crap that every other guy that she's ever dated comes up with, that's tiresome. I mean, that could be a good reason why, people either don't want anything to do with guys, or, you know, send them on their way, is because they're not being creative and they're not being open. And so, you take the risk, right? I mean, there is the opportunity that there could be some fallout if over like you expect. But once again, you're confident and strong inside. You're resilient. You just move on down the highway. Okay, and the last of the belief and self worth segment is increased joy and fulfillment. A strong sense of self worth provides a solid foundation for happiness. If you're in a situation where you're always feeling afraid, or that you have some sort of consideration, um, beyond just being who you are, and what you want to be, or whatever, you can hold back. you know if you hold back, sometimes you can find yourself missing out on stuff that could have been really fun because you held back. So if you're feeling confident, or if you're feeling strong self-work, or authentic, or all of these different things, that's like the foundation that we were talking about, like the strength, the rock. Once you get that established, it's going to make it easier for you to enjoy yourself, because you don't have all these external considerations or whatever. You know who you are, you know what you believe in, and you trust yourself to be the person that you want to be, and that you're going to be. Okay, so well, this is moving kind of slow, but we're going to move on to um, the next segment, which is positive self-image. Like I said, I mean, something that's really easy to improve. And people, you hear it all the time when you go to a dating website, or a video, or whatever. It's like, improving your body confidence. It's like, going to the gym, getting jacked. That the YouTube uh, channel Ho Math, he talks about that, how, like, when he was a four, what he considered was a four, or whatever, um, like, he was invisible to girls, and so he hit the gym and really got a good body, and started dressing well, and started acting differently. And he said that he was able um, to improve himself to what he considered an 8. And at that point, he was dealing with girls that in the past, prior to his body transformation, had actually ignored him or dismissed him or whatever, that were now like coming after him. And he said that it really kind of messed with his head for a little bit, and he's still dealing with some of those things right now. But he's got a really good point, which is that if you're having problems and you just want a quick uh, improvement, hit the gym. You know, learn basic grooming skills, like improve your confidence about your body and in your physical self. When you do that, the positive self-image is going to really help your inner game. Okay, so greater comfort in social situations. You'll be less self-conscious and more present in interactions. When I've discussed conversations in the past, I think that one of the reasons why guys have problems having a conversation with a woman is that they are always trying to think of, what am I going to say to make her think I'm witty or funny or smart or whatever. And you're not really listening to her. So at which point, you maybe uh, get to the end of her, answering a question or saying something, and you say something that's totally unrelated and it's kind of incongruent. Um, and it causes the conversation and the interaction to feel weird. And so the problem could have been solved is if you were um, less self-conscious about what you were going to say and just listen to what she says and then respond. It's very similar, with a positive self-image. You'll be less self-conscious if you're confident about yourself. Like, you'll be present in the interaction. You won't be worried about all of these external thoughts or issues or whatever. You'll just be in the moment dealing with what's happening. Number 3, enhanced presentation. You'll carry yourself with more poise and confidence. Like, if you've ever um, seen in sports when an athlete has won a championship or whatever, like the body posture, like that they're the champion. Like there's a difference between just feeling just normal everyday okay kind of posture, and then I just won a championship posture. And so when you find yourself in a situation with better posture, like where you're presenting yourself better, you'll just feel better about yourself. You'll be more confident, you'll be more poised, you'll be on point. Like I mentioned the other night about magic. I mean, a lot of this is magic. It's like, if you do this, then this will happen. It's like, if you do a trick and say abracadabra, boom, this happens. The rabbit comes out of the hat or whatever. Reduced self-criticism. You'll be kinder and more compassionate towards yourself. When when you have negative self-talk, or when you beat yourself up all the time, um, that is a cumulative situation, and it just kind of beats you up and holds you down. It's like once you stop beating up on yourself and criticizing yourself and having doubts and you know, unwarranted concerns, you'll find that you start treating yourself better. I mean, you are just naturally, by not uh, putting yourself down. Just that simple little step uh, will help you feel better about yourself. Kind, more kind, more compassion. increased motivation. Believing in yourself visually makes it easier to pursue your goal. I'm sure I had a good reason for pointing out visually, but in the sense that it's a positive self-image. I'm curious what I meant by that. I'll have to go back and check my notes. Like I said, after having some crazy notes and sitting here trying to go through them and explain them in a way that made sense, I cut my notes way back, and uh, which was great, but made me have to uh, sometimes skip things. So tonight we're not going to skip those things because I've written them down, but I still haven't written gigantic notes. So I'm going to have to go back and find out what I meant. Sorry for that aside. Anyway, so better mental health. A positive self image contributes to lower levels of anxiety and depression. It can be a downward spiral kind of, if you're you're not looking good, and you're not feeling good about yourself, and you're not talking well to yourself, and it just, it goes down and down and down, and you can really get into the dumps, and it could be hard, for you to kind of get unstuck from that place. And so one way that you develop your positive self-image, and you won't be so anxious, like you won't feel that you're somehow deficient, like it ceases to be an issue. And I'm sitting here trying to get ahead of myself, but this is starting to flow. More positive. Whoa. Hey, before we get to that, how about we talk about what do you think? I keep mentioning about how I'd like this live stream to become a conversation where people drop in, stop in, say hi, uh, talk about what we're talking about, and um, form a conversation uh, where it's something that I'm responding directly to your questions or concerns or opinions, and not necessarily so much of this canned stuff that I have prepared. My training the algorithm. That's why I'm so looking forward to when we get a lot of people in here, and especially people that want to interact. Uh, so I'm looking forward to that. So, hey, everybody that I want to come hang out, come hang out. Let's get this started. And also, in the event that you know anybody that is thinking about these things or working through these things, please share the video, share the link, let them know what we're doing here at the Easy Path Project, and invite them to come visit, and invite them to participate. And okay. So positive self-image part 2. Goodness gracious. This is the loudest night ever. Anyway, so better health, better mental health. I think I actually just discussed that. Or whatever. More positive self-talk. Talk to yourself. Like you're a friend. Like be friendly to yourself. Um, you don't need to beat yourself up. It's not. It's not conducive to growth. I mean, if you're taking these mental punches, um, stop it. Like, don't do that stuff anymore. Okay, so greater openness to new experiences. You'll be less held back by fear of how you'll be perceived. I mean, on one hand, you did definitely want to um, to be perceived well. I mean, that's what we're trying to do here, right? Personal development so that uh, that you can present yourself well. But when you present yourself well, you have a clear understanding, a more positive understanding of who you are. My notes are all messed up. I am all over the place. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm just rattled by these people doing the freight elevator and the and moving dollies and tables and crap around while I'm trying to do a live stream. It's an uncommon experience. So let's see. Yeah, so basically, let's wrap up the greater openness to new experiences. Once you feel confident in yourself, you'll find that you'll be more open and more likely to try new things, and to be in new situations and to meet new people. If you've taken the time to kind of eradicate all the crappy stuff and bring the good stuff to the fore, you'll find people that are going to start responding to you better. And that's where we're going to head here. Okay. And like I said, with your stronger sense of identity, you'll have a clearer and more positive understanding of who you are. You won't you won't be trying to be somebody else. Like, you'll be the best you. That's the goal, right? And to become the absolute best possible version of yourself. And that starts with developing the understanding of who you are. Okay, an increased self acceptance. You'll embrace your imperfections as part of what makes you unique. We are all humans. We all have things about us that, that are strengths or weaknesses or imperfections or whatever. And, once you understand that, a thing that, like, for instance, when you're in a conversation with a female, like, there's a lot of things that might be going through her head, like where she's thinking about how you perceive her. And so you're sitting there thinking the whole time, that somehow this is a girl is just sitting there, just like looking at everything about you and thinking about everything you do or everything you say and judging it harshly or whatever. And just like we talked about earlier about how you have sometimes have issues with having conversations, because you're not paying attention to the actual conversation, but you're kind of thinking forward. Like, that's the kind of the same situation that a female is dealing with. She's like got all these things going on in her head, and so she might not necessarily be paying attention to you in the same way. Like, she won't be as critical of you. And in a face-to-face interaction, this is another reason why I say that apps and dating apps and Instagram and those kind of things are just like a sucker's game if you're trying to play them, because you can't, you're not interacting with somebody. You're just interacting with their photos or with their profiles or whatever. And there's really no connection there. But like when you've got a person in front of you, like they're taking in the totality of who you are, your presence, your demeanor, what you're saying, what you're doing. Your body language, you're influencing the communication that you're having. And that really adds a lot. You're missing out on all of that stuff with the dating apps. But when you have that, then that really is your opportunity to shine. And so, for instance, I've got this big ass gap in my teeth. And, the musician, Mac DeMarco, made the comment once about the gap in his teeth, very similar. That you just grow into it, like it can bother you or whatever. You can just deal with it. Um, you know, I've never ever been in a situation where, other than to tease me or to get a rise out of me, that anybody's ever said anything about my teeth. And like I mentioned, I've certainly never had a situation with women and how they, um, I mean, I keep my teeth brushed and I keep my breath clean and whatever, and I present myself as best as possible. And so, even things that you might think are deal breakers aren't necessarily a deal breaker, because not only are you accepting yourself, but the other person is accepting you. And like I said, there's a good possibility that, you know, she might be worried about you, think her butt looks fat or whatever. I mean, like, you just have no idea what's going on. So, don't beat yourself up over something that, like, you can't control, or if you can control it, fix it to the best of your ability or whatever. But don't let it hold you back. Anyway, so like I mentioned, they just opened up the freight elevator a little while ago, so I have a feeling that there's going to be some kind of cruise or something coming through here at 8:20 something at night for whatever reason. Anyway, so I'm going to wrap this up. So you're just going to have to learn about the empathy part tomorrow night, and we'll try to go through this a little bit faster than um, we did tonight. So, like I mentioned, if you're getting value from this video or these videos that I'm making, please feel free to leave a like. Definitely leave a comment. Like I said, I am just waiting for the moment when I can start, having an actual conversation with people on this channel, rather than just be talking to an algorithm. And so definitely, you know, comment and let me know you're here. Also, if you like the live streams, make sure to subscribe and to turn on the bell there. Click the bell so that you can get notifications. I go live at 7:30 p.m., but I don't have a big long time that I don't have like a waiting room or anything. I just go live when it's time to go live. And so, if you want to catch my live streams while they're actually happening, make sure that you've got the notifications turned on. Yeah, so mastery of your inner game transcends temporary tricks and techniques, leading to a more meaningful and rewarding journey through life. Like I mentioned, the very first night, it's like everything that you're going to be working with in your life. When it comes to dating or forming a relationship, or being out in public and talking to people or whatever, it's like it's all going to be affected by your inner game. And a lot of people have kind of like a diminished sense of self or whatever, for whatever reason. And so the idea here is that just kind of unwind that tightness, kind of get down in to who you really are and start to rebuild and feel better about that. And so we've talked about these points tonight. And so, like I said, tomorrow night, uh, I'll include the information about empathy. But also, my original impression or idea was that we'd be talking about the strong inner game outcomes part 2. We'd be talking about coping skills. We'd be talking about being flexible. We talk about true self-expression. So if you're in a situation where you want to become free, to allow yourself to become the person that you've always wanted to be, that person is inside you. You just need to let them free. And that's what we're going to do here. Anyway, so tomorrow night at 7:30, I'm going to be here talking into this computer again, and you can join me, and we can have a neat conversation about uh, a strong inner game. Anyway, but otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up for the night. Have a good night. Thanks for joining me. Take it easy, and we will see you tomorrow night.